The rest of the things I'm going to show you for class today are pretty simple. I would call these administrative details. These are more about keeping yourself organized and productive on Procreate. Just some simple tips that you'll use a lot during your art. So what I'm looking at right here is called my gallery. And if you've already made some art on Procreate, then you have a gallery. So think of this like your sketchbook, okay? So this is just where you keep all your art. And as you can see, I have tons and tons, probably thousands of artworks in here. So the important things to know about gallery, your way of accessing a new canvas or your piece of paper, like we talked about earlier, is to click this little plus sign. Now, your choices of canvases will look a little bit different than mine because I have added different size canvases. And here's why. Have you ever been drawing traditionally, and you've probably had different size sketchbooks? One might be small, one might be big. You might have had some piece of art you wanted to make so that was square. So you cut your paper into a square shape. There's all kinds of different reasons that you might want a different size piece of paper. And with digital art, you might think, well, why does it matter? And it doesn't really matter if you're drawing for fun, but let's say you want to make a gift for somebody. In the United States, we have a standard size of art or a photograph that we print it out, and then we can go to the store and find the right size frame for it. And it's 8 by 10. And that just means like the paper that prints out will be like 8 inches across and 10 inches long. So if you create, like you can see, I have an 8 by 10 option here. If I wanted to make somebody a gift, a piece of artwork, I could draw it on that 8 by 10 piece of paper canvas, and then it will print exactly the right size to get a frame for it. So that's just an example of why you might care about the size of the paper. So that's why when you select a canvas, you can create your own personal size of paper. And that's why I have so many. So you would just, whatever size you're wanting to draw on, when you're ready to draw, you just click on it. And that gives you your new canvas. I'm going to return to my gallery now and show you a couple other cool things. One thing that you can do, this actually says photo right here. So if you click on photo, I'm going to use this photo of myself. This is going to, if you click on photo, this is going to bring a photo, whichever one you pick that you have saved on your iPad, into Procreate. And there's all kinds of fun things you can do with photos. So what if I want to like cartoon myself? So I could I've got my photo automatically imported on a layer. So I can make a layer above it, pick whatever color I want. Maybe I just want to make some silly design. Maybe I want to give myself pink hair. So I can draw right over my photo. And I'm thinking when you're seeing this happening, you're probably thinking of all kinds of fun, silly things you can do to a photo. What if I want a little spider on my nose? So there's about 1.5 billion things you could do with fun art on a photo of yourself, a photo of a building, just anything that you can imagine. I think it's really fun to mix an actual real photo and digital art and make it look cartoony and fun and add to it. So that's why you would want to use that photo option back there in the gallery, kind of a fun thing to do. Now, another way that you can use photos is for reference in your art. So here's a way to do this, and sometimes students don't know how to actually get a reference photo. So I'm going to show you that, and then I will show you how to use it in Procreate. So let's say I want to draw a fox. So now I'm going to actually have to leave Procreate. So I'm going to hit my home button, go back out here to my home screen. I use Google Chrome. You might use Safari maybe on your iPad, but whatever internet you use, you're going to click on it. So here I am, I'm on Google. I want to draw a picture of a fox. So I'm going to just type into the search bar fox. Actually, I'm going to type fox animal because there's also a news thing called fox. So you might not actually get pictures of foxes. So fox animal. Now, you can see here this option for images. I'm going to click on images, and then it's going to click me over to a bunch of pictures of foxes. So I like this picture right here. So I'm going to tap on it. And then once it becomes big, I'm going to actually hold down and tap on it until these options pop up, and I'm going to save image. And when I do that, it's putting that picture into my iPad photo gallery, okay? So now I'm going to go back to Procreate. And here I am in my photo gallery, or in my Procreate gallery. I want to make a drawing or a painting. So I'm going to open up a new canvas. And I just want to use that fox drawing as something that I can look at while I'm drawing. There's a couple ways you can do this. So you can go up here to this wrench, you're going to be on the add selections, and you're going to say insert a photo. That's going to take you to your photos on your iPad. Whatever's there, you can pick one. I want my fox. So now, once he's inserted, you can see he's got these lines and dashes around him. So I can do one of two things to use him as a reference. If I just want to look at him and sketch him on my own, I can actually take my finger and just move him up just out of the way, kind of. And then I can click on this little cursor. You see how it's blue right here? If I click on it, then now it's not selected anymore. So now I'm going to make a new layer. I don't want to draw on my fox layer because I want to later get rid of that fox photo. So I don't want to draw on it. And now I can just sketch my little heart out. I can just look at my photo and take as much time as I need to draw my fox. Now, that's one way that you can do it. Another cool way that you can do it is maybe you want to make it really look exactly like this fox. So now I'm going to delete my layer that I just drew, my little sketchy layer, because I'm going to do this differently now. So I'm going to take this picture of this fox, and I'm going to hit my cursor again, so it's selected again. You can always tell it's selected because it's got the blinking lines and the blue dots around it. I'm going to actually make him bigger. I want him to fill up a lot of the screen. Now I'm going to make a new layer over my fox that I'll be drawing on. And now I'm going to be kind of tracing over this guy. So I actually want to bump my fox's opacity back. I want to make him more pale so that I can see what I'm doing over him. So remember the blend modes layer. On my layer that has my little fox picture on it, I'm going to hit my N, and I'm going to bump back my opacity. So now you can see my little fox is still there. He's just much lighter. So now I'm back on my drawing mode. When I start drawing over him, I'll be able to see what I'm doing. So now I can really get a lot more detailed drawing this guy. And either way that you prefer to do it is completely fine. But this is also, if you're looking to just improve your overall art, this is a really cool way to do it. Practice, practice. And like I said, this drawing that I'm doing, we're going to go into more detail about how to even do that. But right now I'm just demonstrating the ways that you can use a reference photo in your drawings. Now, one last kind of administrative task or organization task. If you want to save your artwork, it's going to stay in Procreate for you, but there might be reasons you actually want to save it. Like maybe you want to email it to somebody. Maybe you want to post it online. And so the same photo gallery where I just saved the fox photo that I found online, now I'm going to save my art. So let's pretend I finished this fox sketch, and now I can get rid of my layer, my reference layer. Whoops, I accidentally copied it. Now I'm going to delete, and then we'll pretend I have a big finished fox drawing and I want to save it. So now I'm going to come back up here to my little wrench, and I'm going to go to share. I'm going to save it as a JPEG, that's a photo file. And then it's going to give me all kinds of options of what do you want me to do with this? How do you want me to share it? I just want to save it to my iPad. So I'm just going to scroll down in my list of options until I see save image. And now it's done. And I'll even show you, I'll go back out to my home screen and go to my photo gallery. And here it is. That's the little art that I just saved from Procreate. And then another thing that you can do to keep it organized within Procreate is stacking. So like you can see right here, this says stack, and you can see there's numerous pieces of paper there together. If you're working on some kind of project and you want, like, here's an example. I have this unicorn idea sheet and 2 unicorn drawing guides. Maybe I want to keep those together. So I can hit select up here at the top, and then I can just click my idea sheet, and my 2 drawing guides, and I'm just going to hit stack. And then once you hit stack, you got to hit this X to get you back into your gallery. And then I've organized it. The reason that matters is because you can see when you have tons and 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 tons of artwork, it gets a little hard to find stuff. If you want to go back later and find something, you got to scroll for ages. Look how far I had to scroll, and I already have a lot of things stacked. But it just keeps your projects organized and together. The last thing I want to talk to you about today is selection tools. Selection tools are a pretty basic but very important concept to understand in Procreate. So what selecting means is when you are basically paying attention to a certain object or certain layer on your screen, and you're going to do something to that object. So there's a few different ways to select and then work with objects in your drawing. One way to select something, and we briefly talked about this earlier. Okay, so I'm going to work with this little heart that's on my screen. So I want to make sure that I am on the layer. I have the layer that I want, the heart is on, selected. Okay, so I do because it's blue. So let's say I want to make that heart bigger. So all I need to do is this cursor that we talked about earlier when we were working with that reference photo. We're going to click that. Now you can see my little heart guy is selected. He has his blinking lines and dots around him. Now to make him bigger, all I've got to do is touch one of the dots, usually corner dots, and I just drag it to where I want it. However big I want it. I can even make him go all the way off the screen if I want to. And then after you get it how you want it, you can unselect it by clicking your cursor again. You'll always know you are selected if your cursor's blue and you've got the lines, and you're not selected if nothing's blue. So another thing you could do with that selecting, you could move your object too. So if you want to just move it to a different part of the screen, you can just drag it around wherever you want it. So that's another way to select or move or resize an object. You can also, let me select it again. At the top, you see this little green line and green button. That's a cool way to like turn it in a circle. So that's another option. And you also then will have these options down here at the bottom of the screen. You see like flip horizontal, flip vertical. Horizontal means flip it back and forth. Vertical means flip it upside down. So you can flip your object upside down or right side up. And then rotate, that is a different way to make it go in a circle, just like how we just dragged it with the little green button. You can also just rotate it by clicking the rotate button. So those are all some really handy little tools for moving and resizing things. Now, there is a different way to resize, do the same thing you just did, but there's a different way to do it. So I'm gonna actually undo that little heart layer and make it go away. So now let's say that I want to work with my yellow triangle. But when I go to my yellow triangle layer, if I hit my cursor, look, everything on that layer is going to change. Well, I don't want to change everything. I only want to work with my yellow triangle. So in order to select just my yellow triangle, I need to use this little squiggly line, okay? So I hit that little squiggly line, and then I'm going to just draw a little circle around my triangle. Doesn't even have to be neat, nothing neat or tidy about it. I just want to make sure it only goes around my triangle though. Once I have my little circle drawn around my triangle, now I'm going to hit my cursor select key again. So now the other things that are on that layer are left alone. But now I want to actually get that little triangle off of that layer so that I can work with it. So now I'm going to take my 3 fingers, has to be 3 fingers, it's very picky, and somewhere on my screen I'm going to swipe down my 3 fingers. When I did that, these options for copy and paste came up. So in this case, I'm actually going to hit, you can either copy it, which will make a copy of it, and you'll have a whole new layer with just the triangle on it. Or in my case, right now, I want to cut it, and you can see it went away. But now I'm going to bring it back, but it's going to be on its own layer. So I'm going to take my 3 fingers again and swipe again. And now I'm going to use this paste option. And now, as you can see, it brought my triangle back, but now it's on its own layer. You can see it's all by itself now. That makes it easier for me to be able to work with just that object. So let me show you again, because this is a pretty cool but important, a little bit complicated thing. So I'm going to go back to my layer that's now got 2 shapes on it. And I want to get a separate layer for my little purple box. So hit your squiggly line, draw a circle around your purple box. Then once your circle's there, hit your cursor, and now you've got it selected. And now I'm just going to use my 3 fingers, cut, 3 fingers, paste. And then I can unselect it. And you'll see it has its own layer now. And now if I want to work with that, if I want to hit my cursor, select it, I can, move it, resize it, drag it somewhere else, whatever I want. So copying, pasting, cutting, resizing, rotating, flipping, moving, Those are all things that you'll do a lot with Procreate. So I'm going to teach you more next week about how to make shapes and things with Procreate, but I just really really advise you to just practice, even if it's just, you know, you make a layer and you just scribble on it. You just make some kind of scribble, but then practice selecting it with your cursor, making it bigger, moving it around, using the flip horizontal, the flip up and down, the rotate. Just practice, even if it's just with a scribble, because you'll be happy that you did later. Now, there is one other selection option, or another selection option for selecting whatever is on the layer, but in a little bit different way. So let's go. I'm going to get rid of my little scribble that I just made. Now I'm going to go to my purple box. And remember, we talked about layer options where you click on the picture and then you get these different options. So if I use select on the layer options, now my purple box is selected. And let me show you a different view just so you can see this a lot better. Okay, so in this view, you can see a little bit better, but once I selected that little purple box, you can see all these little gray lines appeared around it. That's how you can tell I've selected it using my layer options. And that is something that we're going to learn a lot more later about. This method of selecting is not for moving and resizing like we were just doing a second ago. This is more used for coloring. So it's important to know that the other way that I use selecting a lot is through the layer options menu, and then it will select only whatever is on that layer, and you'll get these little gray lines around it. And we're going to talk more about that later in a later class, but also please go ahead and practice that technique too. Thank you so much for listening to today's lesson. I know that it was probably a lot for your brain. It was a lot for my brain too. I get it. It's going to be a lot more fun moving forward, but your homework for this week is to practice those techniques that we talked about and went over today. There, you can grab the workbook that's posted with this video link in the classroom, and you may want to have a look at it too. Sometimes it helps to learn things in more than one way. If you have not already watched the introduction video for this class, please watch it. It lets you know how to submit your homework, how to ask questions, how to participate in the classroom. So watch that video and then come into the classroom and ask any questions you might have. And if you have already made any Procreate art that you would like to show myself and other students, you can post those in the classroom too. And that video will tell you how to do all of that so that you will be an expert on OutSchool. Next week, we're going to talk about brushes, lines, and shapes. And you're going to have a lot of fun next week. So come next week prepared to create and learn and do awesome stuff. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye.